How's everybody doing tonight? Good evening to you all. It's Big Chonis coming to you live here on Wednesday, February 21st. Sorry, Thursday, February 21st, 2019. I am Big Chonis, checking out some interesting Bitcoin price action here as we start a new day in crypto. Everything sounds good here. Remember, you guys can follow me on Twitter. I am at Big Chonis. I'm a cryptocurrency trader, an investor, a mentor, a chart psychologist. I'm also a featured contributor to Bitcoin Live. I also like doing these YouTube broadcasts. And tonight's a very special broadcast because we actually have a Big Cheds, my buddy. Cheds, are you there?
What's up, man? How you doing? Am I coming in loud and clear there, good buddy?
There you are.
Good. Glad to have you. Hey, thanks for having me, man. I love your shows. I like how active you are. I like your perspective, and I'm glad to join you for the conversation tonight.
I'm hearing myself in the echo here. I'm not sure if that's on my end.
Okay, we'll get that worked out.
Give me 1 second here. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I wonder if it's... No, it's not that.
Could be all good on sound, according to Mr. Robert Long.
Yeah, I'm just hearing myself. Oh, I know what I can do. All right. No, I can't do that. Then I won't be able to hear you.
Mm-hmm. It's at the mm-hmm.
Is it possible I'm hearing your thing from your end? Because everything I'm saying, I'm hearing it feeding back in my headphones.
Do you have the browser open? I am muted on this end. Are we still... This is the best show ever, actually. Everyone says it sounds good. There's got to be... What's up? Oh, what's up, M. Wint? Good to see you. If I...
Yeah, I'm just hearing everything I'm saying back into my headphones here. Well, we'll.
Do you have a browser open? Do you have the browser open from the public link? You know, for like the chat.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, I'll just have to muscle on through it, I guess. What I'll do is I'll have to talk and then pull the headphones out there. So I'm gonna keep on a little rant here, Cheds, and then you just type in the browser here to.
You got it.
Let me know that you're ready to step in here. So listen, I want to just briefly talk about. We have I got 4 charts here in front of us here, and obviously let's start with Bitcoin here because it's definitely running the show and will basically dictate, I think, what's going to happen next, because now everything is waiting for that next move higher. And we've seen all nope, that's not mine. We have basically 3 hold on here, what am I doing? Jeez. There we go. Okay, so let's start with Bitcoin here. Okay, so here, Cheds, why don't you start it up and I will
Sure.
just work on this problem here, okay?
No problem. No problem. Let me know when we are switched over.
So it should be on your screen now.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's just get the party started. I know you're trying to figure that out, and I definitely appreciate everyone joining us here tonight. Sorry for that little delay. But I have in front of me the 12-hour chart. I like the 12-hour time frame. It gives me perspective. I tend to not overreact to signals, and I know Big Chonis will call me and he'll say, "Hey, did you see that crazy move?" And we'll make a move on a smaller time frame. It will go up or down, a couple $100, and I won't even really notice it because I'm on the 12-hour time frame. So at least for me, that works for me. Now, if you're trading, those smaller movements, there's a lot of meat on the bone, Big Jonas. There's plenty of money to be made trading those lower time frames for sure. But just for me, I tend to think about. I try to simplify things. So if we go back to this most recent move, we have this large candlestick. It's not a true Maribozu. Does have the upper shadow, but there's a strong volume behind this candle. So this candle kind of set the tone. And what was notable for me is based on Japanese candlestick theory, the midpoint, I'm going to zoom in here. So the midpoint of this candle should have, it basically is your expected support. This would be where you'd expect it to find support. And the price was able to maintain above that midpoint. It was so bullish during this consolidation phase, Big Chonis, that it was able to maintain above the midpoint of that candle. So next, I'm looking to see, are we going to see that same thing right here? Okay. Clearly, we need our moving averages to catch up with the price. EMA 34, MA 20. I mean, that's pretty plain to see. But if I want to look at it that way, I'm also watching this green line, the EMA 8. So is it going to consolidate? Is it going to move back up again? Or are we going to see the price break back through? So that's a signal we can keep an eye on, or something we can keep an eye on, right? We have our bull cross, 834 bull cross back here on that initial push. And during this next period of consolidation, we're going to want to watch to see what happens. We're going to want to watch to see if those moving averages cross back over, or do they flatten out in kind of a nice and tidy consolidation range, most likely with a declining volume profile, as we saw back here, kind of something like that. But let's head back to my friend and kind of Big
Chet,
Chonis.
before we go back to
Talk to me.
yeah, back on your chart there. I just wanted to so just stay on. It's no your chart.
Good to go or no?
I was all right. I was gonna make all right. I guess back to my chart then.
Well, what do you want, brother? I have mine up. It's up to you.
Yeah, just you keep flashing back and forth. Keep it
Got it.
on your chart.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it's still flashing back and forth. All right, let's just go back to my chart.
Sure.
Cheers.
That's a weird little thing I've seen happen as well before. So let's go ahead. And what do you got for me, my friend?
All right, let me just make sure I'm on my chart here, and that's good. Okay. All right, so listen, this is the daily chart, and yesterday's closing candle after breaking through once again our upper Bollinger,
Mm-hmm.
and being outside our upper Bollinger for 3 days straight, closing outside that. I haven't done that in quite a while here. So the fact that we were able to come back in and we actually opened our day inside of it, broke through it one more time, and then actually had that kind of fake out, still finding extremely strong resistance every time we get to that sub $4,000 area, kind of consistently there. And that's the thing that, all right, this is good. And that's the thing that, I wanted to see happen in this consolidation here. Yesterday's volume was still high. I mean, we have basically have had four, these big ones here, but several consecutive days of consistent higher than normal, higher than average volume. And because we were able to find resistance in our middle Bollinger, then acting as support, riding our upper BB here, this can take time to consolidate to get our middle Bollinger and then our lower Bollinger on the daily to start to kind of get a little closer to the price action here. This move, though, decent, and did spread our BBs wider, we are still kind of relatively tight here. And that's why I think you mentioned that, the consolidation of this move would be something that you want to see for that next level higher to push. Clearly, we're not ready to get through 4K just yet, and because we've basically tried. I mean, 3,900, 3,900, 3,900. We've been $100 below it for 4 days in a row here. Starting on our fifth day here
Mm-hmm.
on a declining volume pattern here. So it almost feels like if we're ready to take that push higher there, the market might feel some trepidation to see if this can go lower.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to miss that boat. And if we can go into just a lower time frame here
Can we
real
go back
fast.
real quick? Can I ask you a question before we move on, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go for it.
So wouldn't it almost seem kind of inorganic if it were to push so quickly, after what, 3 or 4 candles there, because if you look back just what February 8th or whatever, that for initial move, you see how it took, what was that, like 10 days to kind of to move, because the oscillators were so hot, like RSI was 80 or 85, right?
Hmm.
So it almost would be inorganic for me for it to push back again. That it would have to be crazy news or something. Like, could be really weird, and it needs to consolidate, right? If you look at the amount of price gains, a significant price gain from that 3,600 level to that 3,900 level, and we're still at 3,900. When you talked about that red candle, there's not a lot of volume on it, so that's pretty healthy. So that's kind of
Well,
just
that's the thing. We're currently bullishly consolidating because
yes,
the
yes.
fact that, and this was your thesis a couple weeks ago when we had this candle,
Yeah.
and the lack of selling
Mm.
was notable, as well as the lengthy consolidation time that allowed the shorter term EMAs and MAs to catch up to the price
Mhm.
before it was able to take that next leg higher. If we were to not drop any further and to consolidate, this being it, and to keep rising, pushing those indicators like the RSI to those higher 70s once again, a double top on the Stoke. We have bullish momentum here, and that's kind of the thing we're dealing with here. When there's a momentum in the market, when there's a trend, you don't want to kind of swim against the trend. And for now, the bullish trend is the narrative. Even though there's warning signs here and there, because we're able to break out of these key areas, find a positive histogram on areas that were negative for so long. The OBV especially really surging here with this double tap here. So we're seeing healthy signs of continuation, and the
Mhm.
chart is clearly saying that. But
Right.
the whole overall pattern, and this is something that I tweeted a couple days ago about how the resistance of the 4K, and then we actually hit it 4 times here. It's our fourth tap here to try and get,
Hmm.
and we're still putting in these lower highs.
But is that a bear pennant? I mean, isn't that a bear pennant, basically?
That's and that's the thing I mentioned last night when I was doing the
Or is it
show, is that,
alligator? It's an alligator pennant.
well, he's waiting for it. Remember, you guys, I'm on Twitter. Remember, yeah, you guys can follow Cheds. He's also on Twitter. He is at Big Cheds.
And
He's a
YouTube, Ched's Trading on YouTube.
Yeah. He's, I had to close out your YouTube channel. That was what was
I love it.
giving me the double, but he does do great YouTube shows as well. And listen, we like to go back and forth. And if we had recorded, Cheds, all of our daily multiple phone calls where we argue about the price action and
Yeah.
whatnot, all those themselves can be a show. So
But
it's fun.
they would know how insane we really are.
It would. So it's fun to kind of, debate what we're happening here. So listen, we had this tremendous bullish push when we have this current bottoming on the 3150 area there, corrected for weeks. I mean, I remember how January was such a blob month of just lower, lower, lower with little spikes here and there. And then finally we get into February and we're blasting off, but we're retesting still a lower high of these areas. So you mentioned, are we doing a giant bear pennant because of our pole here and our triangular structure so far?
Mhm.
And we are, until proven otherwise. The way to prove that otherwise is for
Mhm.
Bitcoin to get above 4K and
Mhm.
to hold it. I want to
Well,
bring
hold
up
on.
yeah,
Let's get some before you, and pardon my interruption.
go for
I'm Tony, what is it, Kornhauser? So
it.
I'd be interested to look at this time frame. This is what, daily, and that's a couple months. I want to see Ethereum and Litecoin. Like, are they also bear pennant? Before you kind of go deeper in Bitcoin, like I want a little reference. Do you
Well,
mind?
let's stick with Bitcoin, and then we
Okay,
can
go
do the
ahead.
alts in particular because there's a couple more indicators I want to go over.
You got it.
Um, so I'm just going to stick with the daily for now. We've seen
Mhm.
that we're able to get back in our upper Bollinger. I want to bring up on the daily MA 50, 100, and 200 elusively up here because the notable break of the MA 50 after finding it as support versus
But
resistance.
it's more important. It's flattening out. That's what jumps out to me.
Yeah, and look at the MA 100 now, which was also historic resistance many times
Mhm,
here,
mhm,
here, all through here, was initially tapped, and we're above it. So we're actually using that guy as support as well, as
mm.
both our indicators now can kind of cradle the price action. And I'd be looking to see, wow, we broke through the 100 on the daily. Let's use this as a major support now, especially the 50 as well. So we have these longer term MAs that were resistance for quite a while and are now becoming support. And if that's the case, and if this support can hold, it's not that crazy to watch our MA 200 on the daily, currently still over 5K and falling every day. But that could definitely be some sort of a potential target to get to this major resistance area if it's achievable to be touched. And this could take us sometime into March, though, if we continue this bullish momentum. But still, headwinds remain. So the daily being able to achieve the break of these areas here, and then the current reset, which still is fine to do just because of how strong 3500 was,
Can you put the
3600
bands
was.
back on? I know you have the band. Can we at least have the bands up?
What, the Bollingers?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Yeah, there you go. Okay. I mean, it's important. You made a great point earlier. I mean, you're talking about it, look where it is. It's above the upper Bollinger Band, and that's
it's
you
below
know
the ball, below.
well right now, but it's in the process of trying to break it. You pointed out that like, essentially, in this
Well, I
push.
think it's kind of act as resistance now, just having
Hmm.
been brought into it, and again coinciding with the 4K. Now the volume,
Hmm.
if we're going to break 4K with conviction, um, that's the thing. That's the kind of push of volume that we need to see today. And we're getting late in the week as well. I wanted to check out the weekly chart, and then we can
Hmm.
do some altcoins. How's that sound?
Cool.
All right, so let's check out the weekly here. We got a couple days left. Still looking like a very nice looking candle here, but we got to keep an eye on this upper wick here as it forms.
Yeah.
Chad, if we could put some sort of like Maribozu to close out this week, wouldn't that be
Yeah.
great?
Yeah,
Uh,
it would be, but the volume it wouldn't impress me. I mean, because you have what is that December, like at the end of December candle? There's some volume behind that. It's not a Barabozu, but it's a good vibe
right.
volume, right?
Yeah.
You want to see volume. But I mean, notably on this weekly chart, see the volume cluster, Big Chonis, starting in middle of November, essentially through kind of middle of December. Those 5 or 6 volume candles, that cluster could be indicative of a bottom. You have the most volume at the bottom and top. So we could
Hmm.
be drifting higher, essentially, as a result.
Might be losing a little signal here. Let's see. 1 sec. Oh, come on. There we go. Yeah, and also it's interesting that we were able to basically, start the month without hardly any retrace. Just like a couple bucks there as well. So a very strong start to February that has basically continued all the month. And you have to ask yourself at this stage of the month, as we're later than halfway through here. Have we already hit the top of the month here? Because in
Hmm.
the candles, shape itself, it's definitely accomplishment. But again,
Hmm.
still putting in those lower lows all in all, and
Hmm.
just a couple indicators here. I mean, listen,
Hmm.
we look at longer term time frames. Wanting to understand what long term trend we may be able to kind of set here. And in doing so, just looking at the strength of the RSI, getting up to still running room at least until that next potential area of resistance. but I mean, that's a nice looking stochastic as well. So all these
Mhm,
higher term indicators,
mhm.
the cross of the MACD, look at that
Look at that
histogram.
downsloping resistance line. Aren't we right at it? What was that indicator you just had up? The green one.
This one here's the RSI on the weekly.
Whatever it was, the green one before that. Not this one. That's MACD, presumably, right? Go.
Oh, I
It
have
might have
that.
been
I have
RSI. Well, the one.
MACD.
Yeah, there you go.
This is the MACD. Yep.
There you go. Look at the downsloping trend line. So if you just draw, from July on that indicator, you were right.
Oh, you mean
The one you just had up, yeah.
this one?
Not MACD. Go back to the RSI, the green
Yeah,
one.
the RSI. This is the RSI. Yes.
Oh, maybe I'm behind you. I'm sorry. I'm on the YouTube stream. I'm an idiot. Yeah, there you go. You see it exactly. So that's what I'm saying, right? So that's kind of right there. So that's kind of something to keep an eye on, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a notable break
Mhm.
intra-week, though.
But
So if it
so
can
we don't
hold
know it
this
like that. We're not getting a true signal, right? Because there's a couple days left.
couple days,
That's a
but
good
it's
point.
it's looking good, and that would be something that if you are using the weekly chart,
Hmm.
to have a sense of that time frame and that in effect the break and hold,
Mm,
maybe we need to back test something like that as well. So
yeah.
my point through all this is that the stronger Bitcoin is looking in these shorter term areas,
Hmm.
the higher time frames are equally taking that more of a bullish stance than what we've seen for such a long time. The fact we're able to break through this channel, maybe we need to back test it as support. And I said earlier, we are holding a very currently bullish support here. Um, uh, as we're kind of still consolidating into our new day of price action. We got a vamp here in the chat there, and there's he mentioned something about the monthly. I just want to quickly touch that for 1 second here. There we go, because there's a big bear cross as well that he's talking about, which is the 30 and the 7 on the monthly here, and this is coming, soon. And I guess there's history on this. I don't have it. I guess it would be on the no, that's Max on. What the heck is the other one there? There we go. Be the stamp one there. So there's history where this basically does cause a bearish rift in the price action. And just to keep this chart as a whole on the monthly looking here, I mean, it's notable that we're finding this this stop of the bleed, if you will. But I've talked previously and about other key areas that have yet to be tested because of how bullish Bitcoin was so early in 2017. The fact that you can accelerate, you can not expect to touch these areas while only finding support in these areas above 3K, even though we were only in the 3Ks for a similar amount of time as we were in the 2Ks. So even though I'm happy with the support we're currently seeing above 3K,
Hmm. Can you
it's
do a fib?
still.
Why don't you show me a fib retracement on that?
Well, that's another thing that's been interesting about this whole thing here. It's about the overall pullback. We know we're in the 80s. I think we're about 80%. But
Hmm. Hmm.
I think what's more important is that actually, you could argue it coincides with around the average pullback of the previous bear markets in Bitcoin's
Exactly.
price history.
And this
It's
is
not.
even more severe, isn't it? Isn't this one of
Well, there's been a 90 and there's been a 94%, I believe, was the
the?
highest ever. But still, but again, the difference between 80% and 94% is Bitcoin at $1,000. So
Sure. Hmm.
there's still a ways to go if that truly bearish scenario plays out.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say about Bitcoin
Yeah, I mean,
before we
I'll make
look
my.
at
I think
Litecoin?
I'd be remiss not to point out the 200 period moving average on the weekly chart for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Cheds. That's a great point. Let me bring that up real quickly here because we talked about earlier about how much support it's currently holding or allowing.
What is this, monthly? Let's go weekly. Is this monthly? Or
That's weekly.
okay, you got Coinbase. And if you go back further, like a different like
You want, yeah, sure. Yeah, you
you'll
want
be
to
able to
stamp?
kind of see back in how it tagged it back in 15.
Sure. So the price action back in the bottoming of 2015 and the MA 200 on the weekly, there's a lot of history there.
Right.
Actually, I got to go to BLX.
You can
There we
I
go.
can kind of see it. Yeah, but go ahead. Yeah.
Well, this will give us exactly what you're, because the point is very valid that if you want to talk about the 2014 fractal and the fact that the MA
Boom,
200
boom.
was touched here on the actual low, this was the nut bottom, right?
Yep.
Was the initial breakthrough.
Hmm.
And then we had months. This was in January 1st, and then we broke it again in August. Only this time it was up $35 from the previous support line there, and we actually closed below it for 2 weeks, and then a third week, and then a fourth week. But this momentum building on the line, holding it, actually was kind of what brought us out of our bear market. But between the first tap and multiple taps, and then the final last tap here,
Hmm.
this was almost another, a year, almost half a year to a year there.
So we're right
So they're going to
there. I
keep.
mean, we're right there, right? We're still holding the 200.
Well, are we here,
Okay.
or are we up here
Well,
still?
let's take
And
a look. Let's take a
we're
look.
doing this because yes, obviously the MA 100, there
Hmm.
wasn't enough history, in
Yeah.
Bitcoin's price action, but
Hmm.
there's an argument that we're kind of in this zone still, where after this candle, which kind of represents this current Bitcoin price action, and look at that, we have our drop, we put in a high, we put in a higher low, we actually are able to break out of our equilibrium with a higher high that ends in a very nasty shooting star candle
I
to
mean, that's
close
kind
out
of just
this
a
week.
bear. Isn't that just a bear flag with an upthrust,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
false
yes,
breakout?
yes,
So,
100%, 100%.
uh, but there's
And
not for me. There's not as much interaction with that moving average as say the 200.
well, that's the problem, that you can't do the same fractal with these moving averages, is because they're 3 years prior. So
Mm,
that's why, yes, it's notable that 200 has action from back then,
yeah. What
but
about
I'm
now?
not entirely sure. That's one thing. I'm not entirely sure that yes, it's finding support now, but
Let's see. Let's see. There it is. Boom. Isn't that a lot closer than you thought?
what's that?
The 200. You were saying the price is a lot closer to the 200 than you kind of were kind of indicating based on your 2015 view. I'm saying we're right there. Back in 15, you were saying we were a little bit above it, like a level above it. I mean, I think we're essentially right there. Number one. Number two, if you draw a horizontal line for me, if you go to 2017, if you go to the April, May, June high, you can see it on the candle close with the dark cloud cover, right? If you draw a line exactly, if you draw a line right across, that's 2970. So that's my like kind of roughly 2973K in my nut low. So that would be a logical level. So we're right there. We're at that level. We're at the MA 200.
But if we touch that, then we're breaking the MA 200 once again,
Well,
right?
what if it's a spring? What if it's a false bear break? If it's a wick, you want that wick. What if it's the wick you've been dreaming about? You keep telling me about.
Mm.
Down to
Well,
2400, the wick to 2400,
well,
and
but then let's say we do get that wick, does that in not then say, okay, so there's the bottom,
it's the
but
close.
now we have, just like if we're going to use the same fractal of 2014, we
Mhm.
now have, 6 more months of winter or whatever,
No, no,
because
no. We're gonna close as long as you close above. I'm a candlestick, Japanese candlestick trader. I care about the close, the open and the
Mhm.
close. I like that lower wick. I don't mind that violation, that temporary violation. I don't mind the fact that bulls will reject lower prices. You'll break through, boom, volume, right, and then you close above. That's what counts.
Yeah, and there's lower targets, whether it's MA supports or this is where I feel that on the highest of time frames, like the weekly and the monthly, that though the MAs will be interesting in terms of how the price action dances around them, I really feel like it's going to be the horizontal supports that are going to truly test kind of where the true bottom is. And the last thing I'll say about it is that we're not going to know when the bottom is in until well after that bottoming happens, just because the confirmation that
Hmm.
that is truly the bottom will
Hmm.
need to be some sort of as you said, an upthrust in price sometime after, which is sustained. That's like, oh wow, that was the bottom because of how much farther we've come afterwards. So it will take time after a potential bottoming wick or a move before it's actually confirmed that, wow, that was the bottom. And just as 2014, it wasn't really 10 months until after we had that true bottom where we only came back to it and only held a higher low by just a few bucks there. So even if the bottom is, as you said, 27 something or even lower, there's a very good chance that we could actually get close to it again on a retest to confirm that that is truly the case. So we got actually a tip, Cheds.
Okay. The tip is, show up well prepared for an interview.
Yes, and comb your hair and make sure your tie's straight.
Yes.
But let's do some altcoins. Let's start with Litecoin. I think it's one of our
Hmm.
more interesting altcoin setups over the
Okay.
past couple of weeks.
Hmm.
The thing I want to really focus on that I remember specifically about Litecoin was the fact that it basically had the most bearish retracement. So it actually had a bearish divergence on the retrace than Bitcoin did, and bottomed currently around the $22 area. And then the day it happened, I remember it clearly, had the first breakout candle
Hmm.
when it was in the low 20s. And it was about 12 hours later that Bitcoin did the same. So it was a forerunner, it was a precursor to what was about to happen in the crypto market back in early December there. So you fast forward, Litecoin has had a tremendous move, basically up 100%, down, retrace, and then almost up another like 50% here. Just a couple key areas. I want to actually go to the daily chart here and just show about what was now acting as support, which actually had acted as resistance. So we have back here in September support, October support right at like $47 ish, and then
Hmm.
we failed to hold support. Came all the way back here. Our initial rejection when we got really bullish and broke the equilibrium was
Hmm.
again at $47. So what was support turned resistance, confirmed as resistance. Then we were able to break above it. And for right now, the $47 area is now confirmed as support until proven otherwise. So we can have this ranging here of Litecoin, a little bit sub 50, but holding this key $47 area,
Exactly.
which had been strong support numerous times.
Mm,
And if that
that's a good
holds,
point. That's a great. I think you're really dead on. Actually,
that's key. That I mean, these are two big
that's a
bounces
level you want
here.
to hold. It's like
Yep,
it's
yep,
like we're playing a battlefield game, and I want to gain a forward base.
yep.
Like that's the level you want to gain. You want to hold that level.
So, just a couple things here, real quick, on the on kind of how impressive this move is
Before you
here.
move on, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to refill my wine glass, and then you.
Okay.
So we have essentially in that first move, we have the falling wedge break, right? Where you have the first down red arrow, the first yep, right
Okay.
there.
Yep. Yep.
You have falling wedge break. Now we have the dark cloud cover in the second red arrow, right? We're closed below the midpoint of that white candle, the second red arrow. But there's not a ton of volume behind it. So it's like a bear signal, but it's not overwhelmingly bearish. And for me, you really hit the nail on the head. I'm looking at horizontal support. I'm looking at kind of logical. I'm looking at support levels you want to hold. You need to have higher lows. And if this level fails, you actually could still drop to 40 and be okay, because that's your neckline. I mean, that's an important area to hold because that also has significance. But ideally, you're going to hold here at 47. So I think you've got it right on.
Yeah, but we also have to factor that, let's say Bitcoin is unable to break the 4K area, and does have a more of a meaningful retrace.
Hmm.
Does Litecoin's bullishness have a inverse bearish pullback if is it too overextended, therefore it needs a larger correction period?
I don't know,
Um,
because Ethereum's also been pushing. There's been an interesting interplay between
mhm,
Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin, where I've talked about in my shows. You've talked about initially Bitcoin didn't have a higher high, but Ethereum and Litecoin did. So those led the way, and now Bitcoin
yeah.
has caught up, and that's kind of where we're at, right? It's caught up, and that's where we're at.
And that's the thing, is that I think with these altcoins, we have to take each chart individually. So with Litecoin, the fact that it got to $50, a little bit above, is great, but also the sense that, Cheds, how do you long into this resistance area here? I mean, we have August, September, October, November support, turn resistance, and this is only the first attempt to basically break through it. So it's hard for me to feel that Litecoin, even with Bitcoin breaking through 4K, Litecoin, is it about to push into these higher 50s with all this history here? Is it truly that bullish? The volume's been quite impressive, especially this candle here to see. But as we kind of zoom back in the whole scheme of things, we know what impressive volume was like on the run up of Litecoin as a whole. So keeping these things in perspective, and overall, the volume, even though these have been really nice moves, Bitcoin, Litecoin, the whole crypto market as a whole, the overall volume is still something that is a kind of feeling kind of suspect in a sense. Daily RSI for Litecoin, still with a nice bullish posture here, definitely putting in a lower high, and still hovering a little bit sub 70. The stochastic, the MACD has just been cranking. Like, look at this nice just uptrend. Like, that's what you like to see in a MACD, a tightening uptrend here.
Almost got like a symmetric triangle too, and we have a
Yeah,
bull break on a
yeah,
symmetric triangle, right?
I see that. Now, note every time we kind of come back here. Well, that's interesting. We get a support area here that turns back to resistance, maybe a back test up to here.
Well, give me where's my upper trend line? Let me see go back for a moment. Let's see, the top of that. Where's my down sloping trend line? From March, March to May, at the top there.
I mean, I'd want to go all the way to the freaking top here, right?
Well, look where you started the bottom line, right? You should start at that first, the peak immediately thereafter, right? Exactly.
Oh, and do an inverse.
Yeah, I mean, so that's
no, you're right. I mean, it kind of does.
That's what my eyes see, right?
Well, that's true, because you have what was once resistance is now on the back end used as a bounce test of support right here. So that definitely is also notable. Really strong on balance volume oscillator here. This was compared to, I mean, look at this. This was our December bounce here, and now this has been our February. I mean, just massive, really strong OBV there. And this is the OBV itself, Chaz. I remember this is like weeks ago, I had this chart where I was watching this kind of triangle rising here, and then it was a much tighter one. It was this guy here, right? And then it just busted out, never back tested, and just cranked here. Notable horizontal resistance kind of in this area here. And again, this coincides with the $50 area of Litecoin, so a back test. This is a back test. All we're really doing is back testing an area in the price and the oscillators and the indicators that was support confirmed as resistance until proven otherwise. And just one last thing I'll say here about, we talk about what kind of potentially sticks out. Is this a chance, this nice middle finger here for Litecoin, as we're kind of poised to see? We have a very clean shoulder, we got a very clean head, and for now, and let's see if this is proven false with that next potential push of Litecoin. We could get a little higher in the head there, and still put in something.
Well, what about a rising wedge?
Well, that's another thing that I was watching as well, because we have. Would you argue we're still kind of in the early stages of it?
Like in the middle, we're like in the middle of it.
Yeah, middle of it there. So maybe one more tap here, 54.
Exactly
maybe
right.
Throw
yeah,
over.
I'd actually expect another higher high. Like if it's going to top out, you'd start to see bearish divergence, right? So you have like that. You got to have that higher high first on the price to bearishly diverge from the oscillator. Right, where the RSI's already dipped from 85 down to 70, but the price went up a little more. So I'd almost expect another bounce. So yeah, exactly.
Check this out as well. This is a back test line here. Support
candle on the wicks. Okay.
The wicks, yep. Resistance. So we basically have three direct taps of it, And
You know what jumped out to me for resistance is back in
mhm.
November, around the 8th or the 9th, that candle close where you have the dark cloud cover, you have that Maribozu, you know, to the right of your orange box and then straight up.
Oh, the 8th of February,
Nope, go back to November.
November.
Right, go back. There you go.
Oh,
So
this guy. Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
look where it closed on that white candle. Like
Oh,
that has to be reckoned with. That's the
that's
next. I mean, that's
interesting.
right there. You know, if it was like a gap fill, like that would be
Mm,
the where you're trying to close the window, fill the gap. Like that's you can't ignore that level. You know, the argument against what I just said is that there's not a lot of volume behind it. So okay, I'll
mhm.
give you the point for that, but still, just in the candle construction, I mean, that level has to be contended with.
Remember, I said I was like, "Who's going to buy Litecoin above $50?" You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I just felt like because you know we have a lot of history, Litecoin and I,
But
and
look how this landscape is changing. You have what CEO Jack, Lightning Network tips.
yeah,
I mean, you're seeing this integration everywhere. So who knows, right? Like paradigm can shift.
it still feel. I think it's totally true. I mean, again, if Bitcoin can find can at some point find a bottoming support, you know, being able to you know, build on that. Um, just let's just go into a short or time frame here of Litecoin just to see as we're you know only an hour and a half chats into the day.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 15-minute candle, and where you know the difference between where we are and $50 here is like you know 60 cents or so. Um, I just feel that Litecoin needs to hang out around $50 for a while before it can go higher. I just would be very shocked in the bullishness of Litecoin. And again, it all coincides with Bitcoin here. We've been seeing the bullish divergences with a lot of these altcoins for sure. Not trading Bitcoin, but trading Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of other ones there, BNB, have
Yep.
been the bigger percentage gainers over the past couple of weeks here. That has been much more profitable than Bitcoin, unless you were doing you know leverage or whatnot. So just seeing Litecoin be the leader a couple times
Yep.
and then seeing Ethereum kind of take the charge was definitely notable. And just lastly here, I just want to just bring up the monthly on Litecoin, just the same way we talked about the Bitcoin chart there, and like just a gorgeous. Uh, this is why I like the kind of the combo
Tower
candles
bottom. That's
here.
a tower bottom.
It's a very cool double, really tight bodies back to back month.
Two
This
spinning
is
tops, tower
yep,
bottom.
60 days here, and the fact that
Mm.
we closed this January month with that wick with a green tighter body, um,
Inverted hammer.
inverted hammer. Thank you. I didn't have the word in front of me, and then having that can follow up there. So listen,
Mm-hmm.
this has been a stellar month. I don't use the word stellar. This has been a
It's been a luminary month.
luminary month for Litecoin in
Mm-hmm.
terms of this
But
this
where's the
move
volume?
here.
Where's the volume?
Well, that's my point, Chad. Is this supposed to blow my socks off volume where we're reversing from a bearish market here? Or is
Yeah.
this just a corrective pattern, a
Yeah.
corrective move from
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red months in a row?
Well, don't we have a falling wedge, kind of sort of falling wedge breakout on the monthly candles here? All those red candles. I mean,
That's that's valid. That's valid. It was in a long
eyeballing
channel.
it, just spitballing it here. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, no, I mean it was in a very tight channel
yeah,
all the way down.
from the
So
top,
yes.
straight from the top, straight down, and then from that first lower shadow on the pullback,
Well,
I
what
could see an
about
argument for that. But where's the volume? If it is a falling wedge,
yeah,
you need volume. It doesn't matter what pattern, right? Your
yeah.
point remains. It doesn't matter what you call it, the left shoe pattern. It doesn't matter. It needs volume.
What about the fact that the current support in
Yeah.
Litecoin, and I
Hmm.
know there's older charts here. I'm only going back to 16. I know there's
Yep.
l- Litecoin sub for $3 here, but for my point, and this kind of falls in with the Bitcoin bottoming as well. So far, our bottom at $22 falls into this candle here back in May of 2017.
Hmm.
Um, but we have to acknowledge that it only took a couple months to go from $4
Right.
to $25 and never look back.
Right.
So the fact that we're currently finding strong support at $22 has this candle and this candle of untested history, is what I'm saying.
That's interesting.
Left.
You have look at what's called advanced block pattern, which is a continuation pattern where you have those 3 candles that ended with that almost like a shooting star, even though it's not shaven bottom. You're like a highway spinning top there in May. The one to the right of that, yeah. So that's it. That's advanced block pattern or deliberation pattern where like it's stalling. You have some consolidation there, so you have a little bit of history. You know, it's messy. It's not as clean as you'd want, right? And there's not a lot of candles we're approximating, right? If you go weekly, there'd be more.
Yeah, and look it's not just this history of resistance at $50. This area back in October where $50 was also held as support. So this isn't. Yeah, so we have this guy here. So we have, and then our Darth Maul issue. So we have area of strong support back in 17 that was tried to be support in 2018 that is now being tested as resistance in 2019.
That's a great point. I saw that. I mean, that jumps out to me as well. It's exactly right. So it's because once you, I mean, that just illustrates the point. Once you lose support, it's resistance. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So the back test of this is just a back test.
That's it.
Until proven otherwise, but it's something to keep an eye on because $50 Litecoin, I think, is where that
Ethereum in the same time frame.
Yeah, I was just going to pull up Ethereum there. You want to start? Let's start the monthly. Absolutely, it's right here. So ETH here. This is the monthly. Now this one.
What do we see here? This is accumulation.
Well, this
volume. We have that type of volume and sideways price movement. That's classic accumulation.
This is interesting for a couple of reasons. Remember, we got down to $80 here. You know, it was like $82. We go back in history here. There was history on the close of the April 17 and the bottom support of the May 17 candle.
Look at the volume back there, huh?
Was huge. It was right at $80. So we have history at $80. In Litecoin, just as we had, in Ethereum, there was history in the low 20s of Litecoin, and there was history currently in the low 3Ks of Bitcoin. So again, untapped candles here, more or less in the let's just call it sub $75 to $50 range. But as you pointed out, Chad, a couple of things here. We're in month 4 of the same $100-ish, give or take. Well, I guess you really can't give or take 20%, but still, between $80 and $100 was tested several times here, and especially these past 2 months here. Look how firm over $100 was. I recall putting a tweet out.
Drying up. It's clear you've reached an area of demand. It's very straightforward. You've reached an area of demand, and you have classic accumulation. When you have
this candle was what we wanted to see. Like this is one of those volume candles you wanted to see.
You have a bullish harami with the spinning top and the second candle. It's the most volume in that series. And you have when you have volume with sideways movement, like this is accumulation. This looks good.
But we talk about news driving the markets, and we have to argue, or we have to
Constantinople, right? Or not?
Thank you. Yeah. Or not Istanbul, right?
I know. Look at that's bullish. What is that right there? A little bull pennant, bull flag. What do we got?
Let's bring up a couple things here. I had so this is let's go to the 4 hour. So Constantinople, and I want to do a horizontal. Constantinople was supposed to be on the 25th, which is in like here-ish. So we're not entirely sure what's going to happen. This is a little different.
Can you show me where the fake out was? Because I know there's a fake out. Can you mark it on the map on the chart? Do you remember when it was like it probably was back there on the 10th with that sell off? I would just guess. I'm almost positive.
It was
at the beginning 710, whatever that is. At the beginning of your screen, that would be my guess, right? It was a sell off afterwards. I see it. You see the bear pennant break right on that big red.
I think it was.
Yeah,
it was in January.
Back. Wasn't it further back than that? Right back. Keep going back. Look where that big sell off is. Right there.
Oh, right. That's right.
So there it is. It's in that big dump.
Yeah,
there.
right.
On the 10th.
It was supposed to be in this area.
No, I think it's
was
further.
Christmas.
No, keep going.
Here,
right there.
There it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was supposed to be here.
Mm,
It wasn't. But you also have to argue that, let's say it was, would you
hmm.
would you still get the same dump? Because again, is this going to be a
That's
buy
right.
the
So if
rumor,
it's
sell
exactly,
the
I'd be
news event?
careful with that. Yeah. But
Um,
is it running though? But then okay, I'd have to ask yourself: is it accelerating now because of that? I'd say no, because also Bitcoin and also Litecoin.
so Ethereum had uh, all right, so if Ethereum were Litecoin, Ethereum would be almost at $200
But
if
it's right.
Ethereum were as bullish as
But
Litecoin.
is it a more bullish than Bitcoin?
Mostly everything has been more bullish than Bitcoin.
Mm.
There is a diagonal here
Hmm.
that is basically right there. I mean, look at that: resistance, resistance, double resistance. Currently, I'm not calling this an M just because we're only in the 4 hour. It's not enough time, I think, to create this. And the fact that we're still putting in, I think we are putting in some sort of a little shorter term. It feels like a wedge. It feels like a rising wedge. I'm feeling something like that
Yeah, it's more of a bull.
heading
I
heading
I
into
go bull
this.
flag. I go bull flag. And you look at the volume trend too. You can see we're close. We're close to our pivot, our decision point. Look at your volume trend. You can draw a down
Yeah.
sloping trend
So
line. So
we're
we're
we're getting,
close.
yep.
You
We're
know,
losing our volume. We're holding our price
selling's
action.
drying up. But I actually think it would make sense to jump to 160 and get rejected because you have that resistance at 160, which is significant.
There's a FOMO effect piggybacking on exactly what you just said, where you can get that last wick, and how much of the market, if you're longing this, is prepared to sell at that 160 level, chance, because that's where we remember the major rejection that 160 area had.
Mm-hmm.
So how much resistance is here? How much profit taking will be at this area
Mm-hmm.
if we can get that next $16 higher? Sure. So yes, ETH could be the forerunner, though, because of the news event that has been driving a lot of this price action, I feel. So the next couple of days, heading into the weekend with Constantinople, and again, what happens if they cancel the thing again?
Right.
They
Exactly.
weren't
That's a
ready for it
danger.
last time. Who's to
Yeah.
say they were ready for it this time? And they
Right.
push it into March, and then it's going to be another fade plus another rally. So um, the thing is, though, is that all these bullish trends, the Litecoin trend, the Ethereum trend, the uptrending charts with sideways price action and notable volume and uptrending, longer term indicators and whatnot. Bitcoin can spoil it all if the market feels that Bitcoin is still too overpriced, not the value that it should be at, and fails to get above the 4K area, as it's still very bullishly consolidating. So I think Bitcoin and its interaction with areas that are now support, that were very strong resistance, whether it's your MAs on the higher time frames, or this channel resistance that was touched 1, 2, 3 times and then
Mm-hmm.
broken through, or the overall just triangle resistance wedge,
Mm-hmm.
that we talked about, whereas Bitcoin just in some massive, bear pennant,
Mm-hmm.
bear pennant, right? Until proven otherwise. And the way we prove this otherwise, I mean, here's the thing: if this is your, uh, I'll just real fast
We have
here.
to break a lower high. I mean, bottom line, we got to start breaking lower highs.
Yeah, so this is our A, this is our B, this is our C. Are
Mm-hmm.
we kind of D, E fade? I mean, this, if that's the case, then this is actually a bearish setup here where we lose our E and then we actually fade out here. So
Mm.
if this line of C holds resistance, then another tap here, still maintaining a higher low, right?
Mm-hmm.
Holding around $3,500 ish, would need to hold to keep this wedge, and this could take a price action into March if that's the case. So, any final thoughts here as we kind of close out, Cheds? This is
Well, I want to before we move on, I would like to hear. I hear you have some type of a mentoring program, Big Chonis, and
so
something. What can you tell me about that?
I do offer online mentoring. You guys can definitely check out my website here, chonistrading.com.
What is it again? What's the
Offer 3
website?
packages. Chonistrading.com. May have heard of it.
Or
Also,
bigchonis.com?
yeah, but I want to stick with one, so we'll do
You got it.
chonistrading.com. That's http:// uh, um, but I offer 3 basically packages here. Most of my students like to start with just the intro package there. It's an hour, one-on-one. I use Skype, so you're able to see my screen, my monitor.
Mhm.
And basically, we talk about a lot of the indicators and stuff that we like to talk about on the show today.
Mhm.
I go into more detail with a lot of things that we really haven't talked about, the Ichimoku Cloud, Tom DeMark's TD Sequential, EMAs, MAs, how I like to use them, as well as how I like to set up my trading view chart. So you guys have any interest in reaching out to me on that, Chonis Trading,
How
or
do you
just you
approach
can
it? Like with
DM me?
how do you? Because like it's weird. Like people are different. Like how do you know? Like what to tell people and like what they need.
Well, that's the thing. I think everybody, and you talked about this before about finding your own style. I think a lot of people need help. They look at traders online and they
Mhm.
think they have to have 10 monitors and read all the Elliott Wade books and all these things. And if you just figure out your own style, over the long term, that's the best way to kind of be more successful. So what I try and do is kind of help you figure out based on your own specific circumstances, in regards to how
Hmm.
much money you're prepared to work with, how
Mhm.
much time, and that's the key, how much time
Right.
you're prepared to invest in yourself and in this craft of technical trading. Bitcoin is in a very, like, this is not easy. Like, I get if you're frustrated as a trader out there, if you're new to this, or if you're just not getting the big, you think you're doing the right thing and you kept on just, this is not an easy market to trade
Oh,
in.
it's
This is
hard. It's
not the
really
very
hard.
it's not organic. There's limited retail,
Mhm.
and Chad's, we've seen this with the OTC and whatnot. So
Yeah.
these are things that we basically want to keep an eye on. But listen, I'm definitely optimistic about things, but this is very tough stuff here. So as you say before, paper trading, playing things out, obviously keeping a tight stop loss in your
Mhm.
trades, and don't try and hit a home run every time. Hitting a bunch of singles and doubles, truly add up in the price action, whatnot. And I'm going to send it over to your screen now.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. I appreciate that. I just want to remind everyone you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Big Cheds. I'm on YouTube. I would encourage you to find me on YouTube at Cheds Trading. I'm not as active as my good buddy Big Chonis at Big Chonis on Twitter and Chonis Trading on YouTube. Big Chonis is actually a featured contributor at Bitcoin Live, the best-in-class educational platform for crypto. He does awesome work. For some reason, his articles get much more response than mine do. You know, so I'm totally not I'm totally not upset about that. But it's the best thing. It's really, you guys got to check it out. I'm one of 6 founding analysts. We have other featured contributors. I put out a watch list scan. I teach you basically how to find plays, timely alerts, more thoughtful psychology articles. I know Big Chonis will have a sign up link for you in this post, in the video post, but I would encourage you to check that out as well. And thanks for having me on, good buddy. I would just say that.
Yeah, Chad, these were fun. I hope we can do this again. We definitely have a lot of banter, and
Mm,
I think there's a lot to discuss in this market. You look at certain things and you think certain things, and we are on Twitter a lot, and we take in a lot of information and ideas from the people that we interact with, and there's so much out there. So it's just about being smart and picking your battles. And of course, if you're in profit, take some money off the table. If you're in the green, these are times here where you don't want to turn winning trades into losing trades. So I hope to do more of these with you, Cheds, in the future,
yeah.
and look forward to chatting with you guys some more soon. And guys, thanks for everybody in the chat room hanging out with us. Over 100 people watching our back and forth here tonight. Thank you. AJ Prod XNS for the tip. Much appreciated, my friend. And until next time, Cheds, I'll call you
Call you in
later.
5 minutes. Yeah.
In 5
Okay.
minutes, right?
All right.
All right. So thanks,
See ya.
guys. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.
Peace out.
Jonas, thanks a lot.